and welcome to episode 81 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carso in beautiful Los Angeles, California, joined by my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, it is a very special day today. How are you doing?
I'm surviving, Ray. That's my typical answer when people ask me how I'm doing today. Coming to you live, but not live when you're watching this, from election night, because yes. Ray and I desperately needed a distraction from everything going on in the world. We figured you did too. Unfortunately, you won't be able to watch this until Thursday, when hopefully things are decided. But whatever happens, wherever you're at, whatever side you're on, we hope you're enjoying this episode of Geeks Who Like Sports, because we're still going, baby. Nothing can stop this train.
That's right. And we hope that if you were of age, of course, that you voted, that yes. you exercised that very important freedom. I am coming to you from my underground bunker here in Los Angeles, which
new background this week, Ray.
Yes, we've moved. It's actually my dining area with wallpaper, but it's all like rock formations and stuff. So I think it kind of works. But yes, different location. They do camera. So I'm coming into you. You can see my baldness, my hair, what's left of my hairline. In beautiful HD.
What's it like being bald, Ray? Is it tough or?
Lee, you've been
moving on. What else? What do we have to talk about tonight?
And my hair's going to grow back. Yours is.
My hair grows back. It just doesn't look good when it does.
Anyway, we've got a really big show for you folks today. It is a huge episode. Me and Lee, you can see we're obviously we're in good spirits here as always.
Gotta be.
And yeah, we have a big episode. We've got baseball news, hockey news, football. As always, we are going to have another Giants rant. We've got some Netflix news, a lot of Netflix news, a little bit of video game news, and of course, though we are kicking things off, it is Star Wars season. It is the first episode of the second season, or Chapter 9, as they're calling it, of The Mandalorian that dropped last week. So this is our first spoiler cast. And actually tomorrow, if you're listening to this day and date as the episode drops, tomorrow, of course, will be the second episode of the series. So this is a good way for you to catch up. And of course, if you haven't watched the episode, spoilers ahead.
Spoiler alert.
You have been warned. This is your spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert. This is the way.
As another action figure.
Spoiler alert.
There's Jango Fett. Oh, very good. But yes, so the Marshal was the name of this new episode. They went back to Tatooine. And one of the big things that we knew was going to happen this season, and Lee, they got it out of the way in the very first episode. They were kind of like, we knew he was going to be back, but we knew Boba Fett was going to be involved somehow this season. And they brought him back in the very first episode, like, not right away, but the fact that he's back early in the part of the season, it makes you think he's going to have hopefully a larger part as this season goes on.
It makes me think about a lot of stuff, right? So you're right. Let's just jump into the Boba Fett stuff and look forward a little bit, because we're sure everybody saw the episode. Ray and I also had a great time broadcasting live on streamlounge.io.
Yes.
And doing like a live commentary for the episode, which is really fun. You can join us weekly with that. We're not promoting that too much unless you listen to the show, so check that out. That's a really fun time we have with the great guests there. But I'll tell you this, with Boba Fett, this is what I started thinking about. That we knew that Boba Fett was going to be in the season. They didn't hide that, right? Yeah. We knew the actor. It was pretty obvious. Mm-hmm. Makes me wonder, what are they hiding? Because here's the deal. The trailer pretty much only showed most of episode 1 in the trailer. There's some other stuff. There's that ice planet.
Yeah, and we know Greef and Kara are coming back. Like, we know certain characters will be around.
We know, obviously, Ahsoka Tano is going to be in it. There's going to be other bounty hunters in it, most likely. But largely, we don't know what's going to happen this season. Love the tease of Boba's armor, his suit, and then eventually Boba Fett at the end, unmasked, which was brilliant. It makes me think of a lot of things. So one is this. Yes, I believe Boba Fett's going to have a major role in this. We don't know good, bad, in between. Is he going to be an ally to the Mandalorian or not? We don't know that yet, right? I do hope he has rather in-depth lines. The other thing that makes me think, Ray, is that, and this might be a little deep for some of you that just watch Star Wars on the surface, but I'm really starting to think that Rex might be in the show. So for those of you who don't know, Rex is a clone trooper that is very good friends with Ahsoka Tano, and we know he's alive in this time period, unless he just recently died. Because this show's probably a year or a little bit, maybe 2 years removed from Return of the Jedi now, where we're at.
Right.
And Rex is in Return of the Jedi now officially. I think it would be very interesting to see Boba Fett interact with an older clone trooper who's going to look exactly like him, but older.
Yeah.
Another thing about Boba, and this is something that isn't being discussed enough, is when we look at the Mandalorian universe right now in the show, there's a lot of people who don't know a lot about anything.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're introducing characters that know a lot about everything. Boba Fett knows everything that's happened since the Clone Wars. He knew Darth Vader personally.
Yep.
Right? He knows who his father was. I mean, there's a lot that he obviously knows Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and everything that happened in those movies. Yep. So there's a lot there, right, that he could explain. He would have known Yoda if you think about it, right?
Yep.
So there's that aspect of it. And then same thing with Ahsoka Tano and Rex. Like there's a wealth of Star Wars information there that has not really existed in the Mandalorian universe.
Yep.
So again, I'm rambling here because like there's so many places this could go. And all I'm going to say is that I just completely trust Jon Favreau. This episode might have been the best episode they've done. Yeah,
for sure,
I mean it's
for sure.
probably
So
number
let's
one.
break it down piece by piece now, right? We
it was so good.
We got the elephant out of the room. It starts off on a planet we don't know.
Elephant, you could have used Crate Dragon, man.
I know.
We got the Crate Dragon out of the room.
Yes.
Now I got to do it.
We're gonna get to the Crate Dragon. It didn't start the episode didn't start on Tatooine. It started on what I thought might have been the slums of Coruscant. But
it would have been cool if it was that. But
yeah, they did not give reference to what planet it was. Either way, it was a scum. It was a hive of scum and villainy.
Let me just say this. The reason why I don't think it was Coruscant is because that's at the center of the universe. Pretty much, it's at the center of the known galaxy, and he's hopping around the outer rim. So I just have a feeling it wasn't. Coruscant, for those of you who don't know, it's right near the center of the Star Wars galaxy, if you will.
Yeah,
in terms of the star map. Yeah, so I don't think he's there, but. We wouldn't know.
That's a good point. That is a good point in terms of astral geography. That is a good point.
Yes, man, I'm a geek for that one, but I'll take it.
But but he meets he meets basically Mando is on the hunt for other Mandalorians. He's looking for other people of his kind. After, of course, most of the Coven got slaughtered in the last 2 episodes of season 1. Right. He comes across an alien, Gor Koresh, who's kind of like a low-level crime boss, it seems like. First celebrity cameo of the season. John Leguizamo was the guy in the suit, was the alien in the suit. Did an amazing job, as always. I
was, real quick, I was watching some like fan-made video after the episode about like all the Easter eggs. Mm-hmm. And it was a younger guy. He's like, John Leguizamo. I must have butchered that. I'm like, you don't know who John Leguizamo is? And then I was like, no, that might be fair.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's been around for a while, but the fact that he doesn't know, and of course, Leguizamo, we believe, is a good friend of Jon Favreau. They were obviously in the movie Chef together.
That's right.
So, and Leguizamo has always been willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, he was the clown in Spawn, or the Violator. So he was phenomenal in that. He's a great actor, of course, great comedic actor, perfect for this. But we get from that, after he is disposed of in a fun way by the Mandalorian.
A Star Wars way, yes.
Yes, very Star Wars way. He finds the information he wants. He has to find him on Tatooine. Of course, there's some trepidation. He's like, I've been to Tatooine many times. Again, season 1. And he's like, well, you weren't looking in the right places, and Mos Pelgos. He gives him a city. First of all, a city we have never heard of on Tatooine. We know Mos Eisley and Mos Espa. But obviously this is, again, expanding a planet in Star Wars, that showing that even we don't even know everything about every planet that we've already been to.
Right.
Which
is smart, by the way.
Yes. And it's a place called Mos Pelgo. We get our second cameo, which is our friend Amy Sedaris playing Peli Motto with her pit droids, taking care of the Razor Crest. And she's working on some pod racers, which, of course, is another hint for something that comes on later in the episode, which is a lot of fun. And they basically go to Mos Pelgo. It's a small mining outpost city, very small. And Mandalorian goes looking for he goes to the local bar. You go to the local saloon in the Western, right, when you're looking for information. And the barkeep there, which was a Weequay, another alien species. The Weequay is like, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for a Mandalorian. He's like, what's a Mandalorian? He's like, somebody who looks like me. He's like, oh, the Marshal. And that's when we, of course, have the introduction of our third celebrity appearance, which is Timothy Oliphant. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. He comes in wearing Boba Fett's armor.
Right. Obviously, his armor too. Yeah,
it's obviously Boba's armor. It has all the pock marks on it and everything, and all the markings. And but you can tell it's not Boba Fett. He has a completely different build, and he immediately removes his helmet, much to the chagrin of Mando, of Din, and he. And again, it's Timothy Oliphant, and from Westwood, probably best known again, pretty much reprising his roles from Westwood with a bit of a southern drawl and just kind of, I'm the law in these here parts, and basically Mandalorian, the Mando is basically like, who are you? What's going on? He gets the whole story. The character, by the way, he plays is called Cobb Vanth, which for people who are familiar with the expanded universe, it's actually this is the first time that Mandalorian has really conflicted with something that is considered lore in the books, the Aftermath books of who Cobb Vanth is, how he gets the armor, how he acquires it from Boba Fett. But basically, he says he basically trades, long story short, he trades with Jawas for it, he gets it, and the Mandalorian's like, well, I want the armor. It's my right. And it is true in the Mandalorian religion. And then, of course, as they're about to duel, old school Wild West style again, we, of course, have the reveal of the antagonist of the episode, which is a greater krayt dragon. Again, for those of you who are familiar with Star Wars lore, this is something we've seen the skeleton of a krayt dragon before in A New Hope. They've been talked about before, and the greater ones can grow to be 300 feet long. Yeah, in the video games, they've been mentioned before many times. But to see one in all its glory, Mandalorian doing better dragons than Game of Thrones, basically, and it just so then there's a whole thing where I'm going to jump over some parts a little bit here. They work with the Tusken Raiders. The Tusken Raiders agree. They actually got actual deaf people to come in and have them use sign language, because the Tusken Raiders can also communicate via sign language, which was a phenomenal little detail.
They brought in a deaf actress to be the lead on that, so yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, to find out afterwards, that was really phenomenal. And they all basically work together, and it's very much, enemy of my enemy is my friend. The Tuskens and the townspeople, of course, in Tatooine do not get along. They have to come together to fight the krayt dragon, because the krayt dragon is basically going to eat everyone at this rate, because it's a 300-foot giant desert lizard. So,
desert dragon.
Desert dragon. I mean, it's a dragon. It's a dragon.
It spews fire, liquid.
Acid. It spews acid.
So
it's
fire.
an acid spewing dragon. Yeah, I love it. It's absolutely phenomenal. We get so much other stuff in here, like the krayt dragon. They hint that the krayt dragon killed a sarlacc and took over its pit as its home. Like, obviously the big thing is that the Mandalorian gets eaten by the krayt dragon, which again, and this is a key detail, but the acid being that it could dissolve people, but it doesn't dissolve the Mando with his Beskar armor, again insinuating why and how Boba was able to survive the Sarlacc pit, because then using his pulse rifle, Mando shocks the inside of the crate, drops a bomb in it, boom, crate blows up. We get a krayt dragon pearl. There's so much stuff going on in this episode. I gave you the full gist of it. And then at the end, of course, we get the reveal of Boba Fett watching all of this transpire as the Mandalorian takes his armor away. Because then obviously at that point, Cobb is like, yes, you definitely earned your armor. So here, Lee.
Yes, right.
This might have been the best episode of Mandalorian.
I think it was. It's tough because it's so soon after, and it's still kind of exciting. But I think it's number one. I think it's the best episode they've done so far.
I mean,
they had 3 times the money too. It's just getting better.
Oh, and you could tell with some of those shots, some of those panoramas. Right. They did a tremendous job from a technical standpoint. And
there's multiple levels to this. One is that this was this was fully cinematic, and what I mean is, season 1 was kind of there. I mean, this is like a major motion picture budget. You can tell, if not more. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Number two is the genius of this show. And I've said this before. The genius of this show, you could know nothing about Star Wars and enjoyed that episode, or you could know everything about Star Wars and enjoyed that episode. And in my experience, that is one of the hardest things to do. If you need an example, episodes 7, 8, and 9 would serve as that example of you can't have it both ways. Episode 7 was complete fan service. Episode 8 was not. Episode 9 was them trying to land a plane with no wings, which they kind of did. And they're like, yay, look, Mando! And we were all like, huh? Yeah. And that's how that ended. Using his ion charge to get out of the mouth of the Krayt Dragon was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully you all saw the episode. That was a great recap, Ray. So many Easter eggs, so much brilliance. I mean, just there was not a dull moment of the episode. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. I don't fast forward through any of it. It's so well done. I cannot say enough about the show. It's just like last year we talked about episode 1. It was just like, this is really well done. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I mean, it's almost upsetting that it's Tuesday and not Friday right now.
Yep.
Baby Yoda didn't have or I should say the child didn't have a big part in this episode so much other than him being there, which is fine. That's going to pick up. But this show, it's amazing to me that the triumph that was season 1, and I just think again, it might be a little early, and we'll talk about this 7 weeks from now. But I just get the feeling this is going to be way better than season 1, like way better. Just the direction that they're going in, they found a rhythm here that they can continue to do. And I just got to give Jon Favreau, I mean, he just gets this medium. He totally gets it.
He gets Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I'm going to take it a level higher because, like, look, we have other shows too. We have the Marvel shows coming. It's sounding more and more like not Scarlet Witch. Black Widow is going to be coming out on streaming. It's getting more and more like that. This show is changing everything. Like that felt more of a Star Wars film than the Star Wars films did.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it felt like
it was also the longest episode of The Mandalorian with about coming in at over 50 minutes. So
right. So I don't want to take the whole show talking about it if you're watching it, but like next week we'll get into more speculation after an episode than recapping it. But this one was so epic, we had to.
Yeah.
And like I said, like the Kyber Pearl, like it makes you wonder, like, okay, is that just an Easter egg for us, or is that going to come back into play somehow?
Yeah,
little things like that. It
leaves so many possible breadcrumbs, and it does such a nice job of exactly. Is it just fan service? And it's okay if it is.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's also there was also a really comprehensive story here. Other things like Spotchka, again, the drink that was in season 1 came back.
Camino,
Massifs, which are the Tusken Raider dogs, which if you haven't seen Attack of the Clones, they make a brief appearance there. They've also been featured in some games and stuff. Like, there's just little details. And you also get a lot about Mando and him as a character, as he kind of was like, he was in a role we haven't seen him in before, which was a peacemaker. Right. Usually wherever he goes, I mean, he's a peacemaker through violence, but this one was more of a negotiator, right? He was the one who really kind of brokered that peace between the Tuskens and the townsfolk.
Well, and again, with such a violent beginning to the episode too, it's just look, it's finding its pace totally here, and again, they're showing growth with Mandalorian. Like he's much more fond of droids now than he was the entire first season.
Yes,
there's growth, there's change. I mean, this is well done. I don't want to say television; it's just well done.
Media.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's been beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we even had Anakin Skywalker's pod racer in this
episode, it's like there's no end of it.
Yeah, it was converted into Cobb's motorcycle, his speeder bike, basically. And it just, a lot of little things here, but it just all tied together so well. And it wasn't something that was like, if this wasn't here, it would have hurt the episode. It's just being there added a little more to it.
This will be my closing thought on it, is that they're doing such a great job of exploring Star Wars artifacts in a way that, again, every fan can enjoy. Like, you don't need to know that's Anakin's pod racer to enjoy the episode, but the fact that you do makes it better. And this is obviously a trend from the Darksaber. It's the artifacts are there, and it's incredible, right?
Although
I can't wait to see how
that one's I think is gonna come back for sure.
I know it is. I can't wait to see how they retcon episode 7, 8, and 9 because of this show. Right, because right now I know people are asking, like, well, where's the child in episode 7, 8, and 9, and like, what I'm hoping they're gonna do is the child's still a child and he's not really around because he's still a child, but then we'll fast forward 1,000 years in the future.
Yeah, he'll be Yoda-esque, right? And he'll be trained. I mean, assuming who knows how it's gonna go, but I assume that it will get to Ahsoka Tano, and she will take it on as an apprentice.
Right.
Or
there's so many ways it could
Yeah.
go. He could become a bounty hunter. You just don't know.
Exactly.
Like,
He
remember,
could keep it
Ahsoka's
in the
not a
build.
Jedi. We have to remember that.
Yeah, technically right. She's a
Yeah.
Force user, Force sensitive, but she's not of the Jedi.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that this could go. I mean, who knows? Maybe they bring a Sith Lord in at some point. Like we don't know how. Yeah, I mean that would be great. But yeah, we don't know how they're going to go with this.
Well,
But it's,
the Emperor's still alive on Exegol. Oh.
All right, so that does it for our Mandalorian recap. Moving on now into game news. We got a lot of game news that happened this week. Actually, not too much, but a bit. Cyberpunk 2077, which of course is still probably considered the game of the season, has been delayed till December 10th. For a lot of folks, this means it's probably going to be out of Game of the Year contention. So a lot of folks.
No!
Yeah, I know. It's just.
No!
It's going to be a 200-hour, 300-hour game. There's just going to be enough time for folks to vote on it, but it's just.
No!
Yeah, I know. Woe is
know,
us.
I don't think they care about that anymore. Like, how many can we sell before Christmas? That's what they're thinking.
Well, yeah. I mean, and honestly, and it did bring up a good discussion though, because the game went gold a few weeks ago, and people were mad. There was some blowback on the internet because there's so many fanboys that are like, something changed. Change is bad.
It's my game, and I want it now.
Yeah, exactly. So
call JG Gamer Wentworth.
When a game went gold back in the old days, in the cartridge days, right? Yeah, it went gold. It was done. It had to be shipped out. Now, with patches and downloadable content and all this other stuff, the game may be ready to go, but they ended up doing more work on it. They found a bug, and they're like, we want to fix this before the game gets to people.
It's a good thing. People need to be patient. That's the truth about the whole thing. Is like you gotta be a little patient. If they're saying that like we can make it better, you just gotta wait a little bit longer. Let them do it. Like
3-week delay.
It's not. Yeah, it's not the end.
Now.
Yeah, like there's so many games like NHL 20 21 that should have done this. Like again, like and again. By the way, they put out a really good letter. Now reminding me of this about why they're doing it. If I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, it was really well put together. Like we know you want this game, we want to get it to you, but we can make it better, and we're gonna make it better. And like and it'll be worth the wait. If people don't like that, it's too bad. I don't know what to say. Like immediate gratification. Sorry, you have to wait.
It's being moved from Black Friday to a couple weeks later. It's not like the end of the world. So, but it was a big story. It was a big story at the time because of the blowback, and it is it is a highly anticipated game. It is a game that everybody wants, myself included. And it's not going to be
me too.
Yeah.
Like I don't buy a lot of games. I buy like 4 or 5 titles a year, and I want this one.
Yeah. So I mean, again, these are the guys who made The Witcher. These guys who made The Witcher, Witcher 3, obviously. So it's it's a good pedigree, and hopefully
they don't half-ass their games, guys. They're going to do it right. That's a good thing. We should have more companies like that. To be honest with you,
and that is the truth for sure. I mean, and definitely moving on to our next game story. You wonder what's going to happen with this game now that we're hearing all the problems that are happening with it. Halo Infinite, basically Halo 6. It's in a matter of a year. It's the second director who's quit the project. This is not a good sign for what is supposed to probably be. I mean, what they are hoping could be the end of the. It won't be the end, but it may be the end at least of the Master Chief story. Definitely of this 3-game arc for sure. And it looks like it's going to slip even further into 2021 now. As they continue to have director issues and just issues in general. And it's not like the hardware or anything like that. There are plenty of devs out there who are having plenty of people are like, oh, that's because Xbox sucks. It's like, no, this isn't Xbox versus Sony thing. This is that for whatever reason, 343 Industries right now, and whether it's the scope of the project or whether it's the leadership or I don't know, but it's a real bad sign when you have 2 directors quit within a year. That one guy quit, that's fine, and then another guy came in, and then that guy quit after a year, and now you're kind of like, you start to worry with a video game what the direction of the project's going to happen if you get too many cooks in the kitchen. So that is, for Halo fans, that's a bit of a disheartening news for sure. Lee, do you have any thoughts on the Halo franchise?
Yeah, it's I don't want to say Halo's run its course because that's not true. Games go away and come back all the time, but to me, Halo's in a position where it's like it needs to just kind of disappear for a little bit and maybe have some time go by, and then you get that freshness. I remember like Mortal Kombat went through this between Mortal Kombat 3 and 4. There was a large gap, and when it came back, it was in 3D and it was revitalized, and then it happened again. because they started
with Mortal Kombat
they started
versus DC Universe, and then they went back and went away for a while.
Well, it's because they started releasing Mortal Kombat games too much, and it's like, okay, the story's getting ridiculous, and then it went away, and then it came back, and it was kind of fresh and new again. And there's so many games that were like that, and I just, I think Halo's done this once where it's kind of gone away and came back. But like I was never a big Halo fan, but I respect the franchise heavily.
For sure.
It's like, like, what are we doing, guys? What like if you've had two people quit, you gotta like maybe look at like, what's the problem here? Like, is it the story? Is it the pressure of the story? Is it not good enough? Like sometimes it's okay to wait. Now there's no way this game's too far into development for it to stop. But it's like, what I'm gonna predict is it's gonna come out, it'll be mediocre. Yeah. And then it's gonna have to stop, and like you won't see Halo for 5 years.
Well, I mean, and the sad thing is again, it hasn't been the same since Bungie left, right? Bungie made their ultimate game, which, funny enough, was a prequel in Halo Reach. Even though we knew what was going to happen at the end of Reach, it was still one of the most epic games that they had made in the Halo franchise. And instead of letting the series kind of just settle for a while, Microsoft made a whole new studio, poached a couple folks from Bungie, and they made Halo 4. And Halo 4 was meh. Then Halo 5 was more meh. And now you have Halo 6. And I wonder, if it's partially pressure to try and salvage this series that they've kind of shot themselves in the foot with a couple of times in the past couple entries.
It's becoming a victim of circumstance. If you have a following now for Master Chief and the characters to the point that that's become bigger than the actual story. So now you're basing your story like kind of on that. Like, and again, it's a little different than like Assassin's Creed, right? Where like you have a different character every game. Their problem was that it was like every year you're getting the same game but a new game. Right. And they were really good, but like people got exhausted with it. It's like it's really nothing new. I just it's becoming a sports franchise. But then again, they stopped. They went away for a little bit. Valhalla's coming out. Looks great.
Yeah, they revitalized.
People excited about it. Yeah, and it's like, okay, like so I just think that like there's direction on that. Look, I'll give you another example from a sister medium. It's like, look at what's happening with Justice League right now. Yeah. Like look at how revitalized people are to watch this Snyder cut of Justice League, right? It's like a new movie, and like we already know at least 50% of what's going to happen in that movie. At least. And then they're making it. It sounds like they're signing people to Justice League 2 already. Like this is a. We talked about this. We thought this was dead.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're talking about Justice League 2.
Yeah, they're talking about revitalizing the DC movie universe. Right. The cinematic universe. It's like, this is...
Someone behind the scenes is either going to be a brilliant person or fired. But, look, this game is inevitable. I just don't like it when people patch. Because here's the thing. Master Chief deserves better. Yeah. He deserves nothing but the best. And, you can't help but wonder. Bungie jumped out right at the right time. They knew what was going to happen. And got out of there.
Well, they realized we're out of ideas, so let's move on to something else. Like,
and that's another thing, Ray. This is for television and games and even comics in some ways, not always, but it's like sometimes stories have to end. Yeah, and that's the best way to keep it. That's the best way to keep it.
Bungie told the story they wanted to tell. They mined certain little sections for a couple extra stories. Right. And then they're like, okay, cool, we're done. We're good. We're going to go tell this Destiny story, which nobody cares about, but we're going to tell it anyway.
This is like where Star Wars messed up, too. I'm not trying to go back, but it's like, they exhausted the Skywalker series to the point people are like, look, people say this all the time, like, look, there's a much bigger galaxy out there than just the Skywalkers. Let's explore it. And we are now.
Finally, yes.
And it's awesome.
Yes. But you mentioned Assassin's Creed before. That brings us into our next story. We have a couple of stories from Netflix. I'm really excited for this one because even though the movie wasn't great, and it's not as bad as I think as a lot of people say too, but that's also because I'm a huge Assassin's Creed lore fan, so I knew a lot of the references they were making. But I understand why a layman would see it and be kind of like, and I was kind of like, man.
It was well casted, but it was not well executed. That's what I'll say.
That's a fair.
It needed to be a trilogy in that time period of cinema. It needed to be a trilogy. It needs to be episodic, obviously. I'll let you finish the transition here.
Which we just of course, into it is going to be episodic now, as Netflix announced. They are doing a live with a little 10-second teaser. It's just basically the Assassin's logo in a beautiful red Netflix hue. Basically they're doing a live action Assassin's Creed series. I am super pumped for this because Netflix has always done great stuff. It's a beloved gaming property. They've already done great stuff with Castlevania as an anime and other stuff, and so I think that that is a
Witcher.
Witcher, of course, yeah. So like I think they can handle it. And again, Assassin's Creed lends itself to being episodic. We see that with the games.
Here's one thing I'll say, and everybody follow me here. I think as bad as the ending of Game of Thrones was, I think what that show really did was open the door for these types of shows. Yeah. And I think where they failed, I think The Witcher knew exactly what not to do, and that's why The Witcher is so good. I think that Netflix has shown with The Witcher of like, hey, look, we can do this. Keeping in mind, too, and follow me here, right, because I'm going to go in a big circle here. We have a major Lord of the Rings show coming that everyone seems to have forgot about. Amazon put $1 billion into this show. But I mean, in terms of cinema, yeah, but that's unheard of in cinema. It's unheard of, $1 billion show. I'm joking. I know you are. I still can't. $1 billion into Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So I think that, again, we've talked about the golden age of geekdom, which is happening right now with Assassin's Creed. And for those of you who maybe don't know the story, I'm not going to spoil anything here. But like all great fantasy books, shows, comics, cartoons, like all the great ones, there's two stories happening simultaneously. There's kind of the surface story, which is the action and the characters, and here's what's happening. And then I call it the God story, which is the real battle between good and evil. The best example I can give in cinema right now is like there's 22 Avengers movies, but really it's just Thanos trying to kill everybody, right? Like that's the overarching thing. In Game of Thrones, again, it was like these armies all fighting each other, but there's the ice people that are trying to, and then they abandoned that storyline and ruined everything. But like that's my point. Like so, Assassin's Creed has one of the best dual stories I've ever seen. And again, I don't want to give anything away right now, Ray, because I'm sure there's people out there that never played the game. But it's like it is one of the best I've ever seen. And if they're able to follow that, and each season's in a different time period, outside the main time period, I'll just say, it could be groundbreaking in a lot of ways, because that was my favorite part about that series. And
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think
we'll see what happens.
The part of the reason why they had their first slip up was they got away from that. Was because there was a segment of the audience out there like, why are we following Desmond? Why are we in the present day? And people didn't realize that was the linchpin that held the story together. Like
it's a hallmark. I must say this again. A hallmark of great fantasy is that there are two stories going on at the same time. It's a hallmark, not a I can't stand when people get away from those things that we know work. That's
the thing. I mean, for a brief overview, for those who don't understand, it's the Assassins. Again, it's Assassin's Creed, and they're all about freedom and personal liberty. And then there's the Templars that feel society needs to be controlled by a select few people who know better. So it's freedom. It's oh wow. Speaking on election,
I was just gonna say we'll not take that anywhere else, but yes.
Yeah. So basically, and you play as the freedom fighters. But the one thing that the Templars have done is they've basically invented time travel in a way through your genes. They tap into the DNA. The idea is that the DNA you have in your body now you've carried through centuries. So you can go back, which is a great idea, that you can relive the lives of your ancestors, and through that solve mysteries that have never been solved. You know, I can't finding these great artifacts from history
and meeting historical people.
Yes.
I mean, from everybody from Leonardo da Vinci to George Washington. I mean, it's incredible. And I love the name of the machine called the Animus, which I mean, it's just so well done. I mean, that's what wanted the audience to take away is like, this is a well done property. It's a well done story. It's very rich. By far the thing that I was most impressed with those games, for those of you watching, this is why I hope the show does this in some way. They can't ever do it as in depth. Was the games are very historically accurate.
Super accurate.
In fact, you could play this game if you were studying any of those time periods in school and get yourself a pretty damn good education of that time period.
They've actually even added an education mode in the last couple ones for ancient Greece and ancient Egypt.
It's amazing. And I'm a history buff, so I love that kind of stuff, especially they've done Revolutionary War. They've done in Greece. They've done
we were
Italy.
the same. We read every entry for everything that we would find in the universe.
My wife would pass over like, oh, no, go back. What was that? Something about the Constitution. Go back to the Constitution thing. Like, kidding me right now. Like, that's why I love this game.
Yeah,
But,
and they
like,
would find cute ways to make it work into their lore too, right?
Right.
Like and that's the thing too, is you have to be smart. It's like, okay, well, it's obviously fictional that, George Washington was an assassin or whatever. Like, it's obviously like they have fun with it, but a lot of the stuff is based in true technology.
Kind of was, but
well, yeah, I mean, sort of, for sure.
I mean, like,
Fighting
we
for freedom.
did
Yeah,
raid the British on Christmas at midnight in the cold.
That's true.
And won the war. But, it's funny because, and then they have some great DLC. Like, was it called The Reign of King Washington or something like that?
Oh, an alternate universe
history,
in their own universe. Where if George Washington didn't resist the temptation of being an all-powerful king? It
was brilliant.
Like, and it was a great what if. And they're like, this isn't part of our lore. And again, we've seen this in Marvel and DC, but it's fun. It's like, what if this happened? Well, this is maybe how it might have played out, and then our characters have to do something different, and like,
the only comparison to that, Ray, was like, what if Rambo, RoboCop, and the Terminator were in Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
That's like the only level of like, oh wow, okay, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
What if Spawn was in Mortal Kombat as John Leguizamo? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, it is true. It's a lot of fun, and like we said, it's been all over history, from ancient Greece and Egypt to the Crusades to the Renaissance.
Now we're going to Scandinavia.
We're from Scandinavia to to England before like King Arthur, like not prehistoric, England. But like old England, like when it was still a bunch of fiefdoms and like territories and stuff, and you had literally the Britons. Who were, that's why it's
great
called,
time period.
Yeah.
I mean, not to be alive, but to study.
For sure, yes.
Yeah, wouldn't have wanted to be alive.
The height of Vikingdom and Norsedom is basically, So
check this out on Assassin's Creed whenever it comes on Netflix. We'll be diehard binging that. Here's another question: is it episodic, or are they going to put it all out at once? We don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, that's a really
a lot of these streaming services are figuring out like, we kind of have to do it 1 week at a time to keep people on the service.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. They're figuring it out now, as especially now during the pandemic, as binging has become so prominent.
They're slowly like, we are taking over TV. Yeah. Everything is going as I have foreseen. Yes, use your streaming. Let it take over you.
Yes.
Like, see the Emperor, you want this. Good.
Other stuff that's coming to Netflix that should be a lot of fun. I loved the first movie. The second movie was meh, but I liked the first movie a lot. Pacific Rim is getting an anime-style series, again, similar to Castlevania, on Netflix. I mean, look, giant robots versus giant monsters is basically anime at its core in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think it makes perfect sense. I don't know if Guillermo del Toro is involved whatsoever, but I'm still looking forward to this. Lee, is Netflix just hitting them out of the park left and right here, or what do you think about this one?
I mean, they're going for properties now, which is different than what they were doing before. Before they were making their own things, but like here's the thing: is that Pacific Rim's not getting another film made, and they know that. They're lucky to get a second film, to be honest with you, in terms of just the way the movie studios look. But like, I'm interested to see where this goes. Are we going to follow Gypsy Danger? Is this going to be a prequel? And I'm getting guessed that it is. I think if I was going to do a show, I would do the rise of the monsters, not afterwards, in like those early years. But look, it's a fun concept. I always thought it was amazing that Del Toro got that movie made. And I remember afterwards, like there was a lot of like not backlash, but there was a lot of like, I don't know if we're going to do another one. It's like, this is why we can't have nice things. Yeah. It's robots versus monsters. What's wrong with you people? But it's not Marvel. I'm like. But look, I'm looking forward to it. Netflix is fighting back. They knew they had to do this. HBOMax definitely hit some hard punches by grabbing DC when it did. Obviously, Disney Plus is in a level of its own right now. We've said this before. Disney Plus has Marvel shows coming that are going to take over the world.
Yes.
And probably major motion pictures soon. I firmly believe now Black Widow is going to be on streaming. Yep. Yeah. I don't see any scenario where Black Widow's not out in January on streaming. Yeah. All right. And then, like, you also have other services, too. I haven't even talked about Hulu or any of these other ones. But Netflix needed something, and they're getting it now. Yeah.
They're coming out swinging, so that's good. You mentioned HBO Max. That also brings us into our next show announcement. We had Animaniacs coming to Hulu. Something else that's coming from around that time period that's coming back, also by Steven Spielberg. Tiny Toons. New episodes of Tiny Toons is coming.
Tiny Toons
to HBO
Adventures
Max.
is about to start.
Yeah. Plucky Duck, Babs, and Buster Bunny. They have said that Elmira will not be there, much to the chagrin of many fans. But
why not? Is that some sort of moral reason?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe all the PETA folks got real mad. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. So they are making some changes to the roster, but I imagine like Hampton Pig and like a bunch of the other ones who are based solely on classic Warner Brothers cartoon characters will be. Obviously Buster and Babs is Bugs Jr., Plucky is basically Daffy Jr., Hampton is Porky Pig, But
fun.
It'll be fun. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that HBOMax is doing this. Still probably not enough for me to go get it monthly because I'm not But I think it's a good idea. I mean, and again, they saw what Hulu did with Animaniacs. They saw the positivity around that. So they're, as usual, Warner Brothers is jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, look, what you're seeing now is that late 80s, early 90s kid generation, which we're part of.
Yes.
Even to the late 90s, is that we're at buying age, we're at parenting age, we have some dollars to spend, we have some kids to please most of the time, and yeah, like the proposition of, hey, would you like to enjoy Tiny Toon Adventures with your kids?
Yeah.
Or Animaniacs with your kids? Yes, I would. And here's the thing. People are desperate for escapism right now, and let's just be honest about it. Whether it's through the eyes of youth or not, the 90s were just a little bit more of a calm time in our nation's history. Not always, but for most of it. And, people are looking for that escapism to go back. And these shows are fun. They're mindless, although intelligent in a lot of ways, especially Animaniacs.
Yeah.
And, we get to see it through a different lens. I mean, I've always said this, if you watch Ren and Stimpy now as an adult, and, the episodes when we were kids. So many of those
jokes now land so different.
Well, it's almost uncomfortable. It's like, who let us watch this?
Seriously.
I remember my mom not letting me watch Beavis and Butthead as a kid, but I could watch Ren and Stimpy all I want. And I remember thinking, man, this is way worse than Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead was 80% music videos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the time period we were coming from. But yeah, look, obviously this is obviously a reaction to Animaniacs.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what else comes back. That's because these are,
Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, these are the cream of the crop of that time. That's what I'm trying to say. These are the Oscar level type things. It'll be interesting to see if they bring. I mean, Darkwing Duck is another one of those. DuckTales is another one of those.
Yep.
All right. So I mean, Disney's a little bit different because it lives in its own kind of globe, if you will. I mean, anything they touch is gold. But almost everything, I should say. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go with Tiny Toons, and it's great to have it back. It really is.
Yeah, this is good. This is a good time for television. At least it looks like it's going to be going forward. We end our geek segment on a sadder note today.
Yes.
I jinxed this by saying, "Hey, look, we didn't have a death segment," and now
and they took someone that talk about cream of the crop.
Yes, one of the greatest actors ever. Oscar winner, but probably for many of us best known as the original James Bond. Sean Connery passed away this week at the age of 90. He lived a great, long life in countless movies. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Again, I think it was 7 James Bond films. I think it was the Name of the Rose, I think it was, when he played William de Baskerville. Yeah, it just The Rock.
Finding Forrester was a great movie.
Yeah, you could go The Hunt for Red October, even though he refused to not do a Scottish accent. It was a joke, but obviously he's a Russian sub, but he sounds like he's from Scotland. Anyway,
but he is. It's undercover.
Yeah, but yeah, obviously one of the most iconic actors of all time, hands down. The Untouchables, which of course he won his Oscar for. The list goes on and on and on. So he passed away at the age of 90 this week, and I think everybody is the world is worse off without him.
It's true. I'll tell you this: 90 is a phenomenal age. Should we all live to be 90 at least? You know what I look back on now? I remember when he retired about 15 years ago. And he just kind of abruptly was like, nope, I'm not making movies anymore. I'm kind of done. And I remember when this happened because they were making Indiana Jones 4. Yeah. And that's what kind of when it hit. It's like, well, he's just not going to be in it. And we went, why? He's retired. So it is kind of cool to take solace in knowing he retired at the right time. He had a good amount of time to be retired. He lived in Edinburgh. I visited Edinburgh. I completely understand why he retired. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. But this is a guy that went to the beat of his own drum. He never let anybody tell him what to do. A lot of people don't realize James Bond, the way Fleming wrote Bond, he's a very boring and bland character.
Yeah.
Originally. A lot of people don't realize that. And Connery really is who made James Bond who we know him as.
Yeah.
That takes nothing away from Fleming, the author of James Bond, by the way. He created the world, but Connery created the character.
Yeah.
And then obviously he was a little bit older when we were younger, but iconic films from our youth.
Yeah.
And who will forget him? He's an inspiration. He was a great actor. He led a great life. Rest in peace, sir. May the what's that instrument called? Whisk you to your peaceful rest. I'll put it that way. The foghorn, not foghorn. What are they called? Bagpipes. My God.
Oh, the
All right. If he was
like
here,
you're going
I'd
like this,
make
and you're my first.
Yeah.
He's
not
he's
an accordion.
like an accordion.
The bagpipes. The bagpipes.
Yes.
And and here's another thing. I'll give another just kind of for sports, like, as we transition to sports. I'll never forget going to the Prudential Center, and before every Devils game is his voice going, "Welcome to the Rock."
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a cool little thing. I will transition for us real quick way, because there's actually a sports passing that I want to bring up, and that is Travis Roy, who was an inspiration to me. I wanted to bring him up on this episode. He played at Boston. He is a quadriplegic. 11 seconds into his first shift of college hockey, he broke his neck, became a quadriplegic. He wrote a book called 11 Seconds. It had a profound impact on my life and many other people's lives. Everybody in the hockey community knows who Travis Roy is. I met him last year, and when I found out that he died due to complications due to surgery with being a quadriplegic, I was, you have that moment where you take it in, but I think, my goodness, I just met him last year, and it makes you think about life in general. But he was an inspiration to all of us in the game. He taught us that, and I wrote this on Facebook. I rarely write when people die on Facebook. I think I've mentioned that before, but unless they have a major impact on me. But he was the first person to make me realize that, the game is a gift. It's not an obligation. It's not something I have to do. It's a gift. It's a gift. You're fortunate to be able to play. And he did that. He did a lot of good with his charity work. Good human being, and he was lost this last week as well. So Sean Connery and Travis Roy, from the geek to the sports world, two heroes of mine in a lot of different ways, and they both will be missed.
Well said. So moving on, as Lee said, it is time for our sports section. Starting off with more health things. We'll get this story out of the way as we in the NFL. Trent Brown, offensive lineman. I don't know what is going on with the doctors in the NFL this year. First, they punctured
doctors?
Yeah, they punctured Tyrod Taylor's lungs. And then they were giving Trent Brown, one of the offensive linemen, a pregame IV, and unfortunately it had air in it. And, well, folks, when you inject air into your bloodstream, really bad complications happen.
Yeah, like an aneurysm can happen. What were they thinking?
So,
it's not a small mistake, by the way, people. That could kill someone. That could kill you.
They literally could have killed him. So he missed the game this week for the Raiders, even though they won 16-6. But, yeah, that was one of those things where you just shake your head, because this is twice now in the NFL season where literally two guys have almost died because of malpractice on the sidelines. Dude had his lung punctured, and then the other dude had air put in his blood because of his IV. Like, this is something the NFL needs to do a serious investigation into this. This is what's going on in those blue tents that you don't want us to see, because, seriously, this is kind of a joke.
It is a joke. These are people's lives.
Yeah, like
they're the lives.
I mean, they're already putting their lives on the line with the way they have to play football now, and it's like you're just making things worse.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So Goodell, you're not as bad as Manfred, but get your act together. Let's go.
No, I get that. So it's like there's Bettman, there's this guy, there's Goodell, then there's 50 feet of crap.
Yeah.
Then there's Manfred. Again, I got to stress this again. I would do this every time I talk about Manfred. Ray will tell you this, I rarely criticize owners or GMs or commissioners, because I think there's a lot that goes into this that we don't see. But talk about a failure of leadership.
Yeah.
Holy hell. Baseball, I'm done talking about you for the year. Football, you're up. Yeah. And Roger Goodell's already had a rocky record as a commissioner, but like this might be a team issue. This is probably kind of an owner's issue, but it's like, guys, don't you want these are your assets. Like what is happening? Where are you finding these doctors?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'm a hockey player. I understand rushing to get back to the game. Don't.
Yeah.
Do the right thing.
Yeah. No, seriously, it was because
someone's gonna die, right? Someone's gonna die.
No, both these guys have been very fortunate that they that they haven't again a punctured lung and air in the IV. Like it just like
it's one of those situations where the doctor did it, and they have to go. But thank God there was a doctor there.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah, it's like well, at least he had the best care. Well,
right?
Was it the best?
What'd you do?
Care?
I punctured his lung. There's a doctor nearby. I'm right here.
Yeah, it's like. Do I want you handling this right now?
Well, you have another lung.
Gosh. But a lot of other NFL news this week. Obviously, we had a full slate of games. Of course, the Jets continue to stink. I was close. I predicted the Jets would lose by 30 when I was talking to some friends. They lost by 26. So
yeah, they suck.
Yeah, the Jets are terrible. They're basically trading everyone with any talent at this point. They traded a linebacker this week to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won another ugly game. This one against Baltimore, but they rolled with 7-0, the only undefeated team. Lee, your Eagles. The Cowboys look terrible. The Cowboys now might be the worst team in the league because I'm not going to say talent-wise because they have talent more than the Jets. But this is a team that doesn't want to play right now without Dak Prescott on the field. This is a team that is completely unmotivated.
Yeah. Well, look, you get your third quarterback in who he
played a good quarterback who hasn't played before.
Yeah, that's how you have to look at it. I mean, it's first game. I don't want to be the guy that judges that. Yeah. I mean, look, here's the deal. Again, this is all NFC East stuff. I want to focus on the Eagles for a second because, look, Dallas is injured to the point they cannot survive, and that's pretty obvious. They're going to have to get some guys back if they're going to want to compete. They're still in a position to kind of compete, but they're not going to if they don't get some guys back. Yeah. The Eagles, on the other hand, is a lot of hatred towards Carson Wentz right now. And the Eagles. Now, this is where Philadelphia shows its true colors. I wore my Eagles sweatshirt Monday this week and today. And I want to reiterate, the Eagles, albeit really weirdly, are in first place in the division. We're in a playoff spot right now. And I'm wearing it, and Eagles fans are like, oh, man, you got some guts wearing that today. I'm like, well, why? It's just Philadelphia. I mean, we won, but, the Eagles suck. And I'm like, that's such a Philadelphia. I told you, nobody can hate our teams more than we can.
Yeah.
But people are really hating on Carson Wentz. Now, look, let me give my thoughts on this, Ray. You can give me yours. And I do want the audience to comment on this, too. He is not playing Super Bowl level football. I completely acknowledge that. He's not even playing great football, okay? He's been mediocre this year, and he's making a lot of mistakes. But I also see the guy putting the whole team on his back every game and doing whatever it takes, crawling to win. And he's not playing perfectly because of it. He's holding on to the ball too long. I think he has more interceptions or fumbles than any other quarterback in the league.
That's not true.
He's up there. Let me put it that way. He's up there, okay? Oh, yeah, you're right. That's not true. But he's up there.
I have a quarterback that I could tell.
Yeah. I mean, you should look this up while I'm talking about it because he's up there statistically really poorly. But again, when you're trying to do everything to win, like some of these are because of our offensive line. Some of these are because of tip passes. Some of these are kind of bad decisions by Carson Wentz. But here's the deal. When you look at the NFC East, we're the only team that's really doing anything with our quarterback. I'm just not ready to quit on the guy that's not quitting on us. And that's just where I'm at with it, Ray, is that, like, I see this guy fighting to win with an unhealthy team, excuse me, and a beat-up offensive line. And, he's finding ways to win the games that we have to win. We have to win every division game right now, all right? So I'm not giving up on this guy yet. I wish Eagles fans would give him a little more slack while understanding that I'm saying he does need to play better. But we have the whole football season for that. Let's just see where he goes from there.
And I stand corrected. Carson Wentz actually does have more turnovers than Daniel Jones this year. Just barely. It's Carson Wentz.
I'm going to stare at you for 10 seconds now. Because
Wentz won. I don't know if that's updated. I need to double-check that. I'm going to double-check that.
Lee knows. Listen, I take your apology, which you didn't do, but that's fine.
No, I'm going to double check. I got to get a second source. We're journalists. I got to get a second source.
Your second source.
I got to get a second source.
Well, before I get out of this, let's transition. So Cowboys are in hell. Eagles are in first place somehow, and they're gaining ground. The team that is not in first place right now is the New York Giants, who played a really interesting game against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. I want to give a shout out to the Giants defense, who were phenomenal against clearly one of the best quarterbacks in the league and the best quarterback of all time. But of course, the Giants offense just found another way to lose a football game.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Daniel Jones' inability, he's making more good plays, but his inability to make the big plays is that would drive me crazy.
Well,
I know a Giants fan that wants to talk about that, so I'm going to take my football and I'm going to throw it 10 yards over Ray's head so that he can tell me a little bit about his Giants. Ray, you got a lot of frustration today. A lot. I'm gonna let you have at it.
Just to say, and it is truly that is in terms of total turnovers and fumbles, losses, and interceptions. Wentz has 2 more than Daniel Jones.
Right. So, well, and here's the thing. Just to be fair to you, and I'm really not saying this in an insulting or funny way. Wentz is on the field more than him. That's why. All right, like time of possession offense. I bet you we have a lot more.
Typically, yes, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So that's why. That's why.
But you know what? The past couple of games, the Giants have started to turn that around. But again, as Lee mentioned, it just seems at the end there, they just can't seem to make the right catch. They can't make the right throw. Or in this case, Daniel Jones just throws up a couple of ducks, a couple of second-half interceptions again, that again lead directly to Tampa Bay points. The Giants had a team on the ropes, and again, they let them up, and you can't do that against a team like Tampa Bay, led by Tom Brady. And to be fair, honestly, the Giants exposed a lot of weaknesses in Tampa Bay. I'll say this again, the Giants, and we've said this before, they are still a top 5 defense. The defense,
really good.
The defense forced turnovers. The defense held Tampa Bay in check. And if it wasn't for 2 short fields given up by bad Daniel Jones interceptions, I don't know if they give up 25 points to Tampa Bay, and I don't know if we lose that game. Now, of course, again, somehow, I finally think the Giants are down by 8. It's 25-17 because of a missed 2-point conversion by Tampa Bay earlier. So that's why people are like, that's a weird score. It is a weird score. Missed a 2-point conversion. The Giants, look again.
They shouldn't have missed that conversion. Sorry, go ahead. They could have easily had that conversion.
It's very true. Tampa Bay should not have missed that conversion. But what ends up happening is that, like Lee said, Daniel Jones is playing better, but he's still missing a lot of the easy throws. Guys who are wide open, and he's missing his reads. On his second interception, he had Darius Slayton wide open in the end zone, 40 yards down the field. But he's still 20 games into his career now, staring down one receiver, and guess what? The corners can see that, and they're going to jump the route. Holy cow! Hey, I think Daniel Jones is over here. He's looking this way. I think he's going to throw the ball this way. He's still making stupid mistakes. And the worst thing I've ever heard from any coach was said this week was Jason Garrett, who's still the clapper, the biggest idiot, where he's like, well, his greatest strength is also his greatest weakness. What the hell are you talking about? He's like, well, he's like, well, he's just so competitive. And it's like, the problem with him is that, yes, he may be competitive. That's not a bad thing. The bad thing is that he doesn't understand football, basically, it seems, because he doesn't understand what he's
too competitive
supposed to do on the field.
Right, he's too competitive to understand football.
I'm competitive too. I'm super competitive. Maybe. But I'm not
Look, let me before your head explodes. Don't have an aneurysm. This is the thing: is that I look at this from almost an organizational standpoint. Who's the quarterback's coach for the Giants? Because maybe you should fire that guy and bring in a new guy.
And Garrett. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I was gonna say I hate saying that because it's someone's job, but it's not working. Try and fix it. Because, like I said, he's showing signs of improvement, Ray. He's showing signs of improvement, but he's making bad decisions. Find dude, I bet you could find someone who wants to be quarterback's coach of the New York Giants to help this kid. But like you said, talking about missed easy plays, like the 2-point conversion, a lot of pressure on this play. I admit that, but he threw the ball behind the receiver.
Yeah.
There was a play where the Giants were running downfield and he threw the ball to the sideline when it made no sense. It wasn't. You didn't need a timeout. You didn't to stop the clock. I mean, so it just leads me to believe you missed through the ball. Yeah. And then obviously, look, and everyone knew this. Once it got down to the fourth quarter and it was close, even the announcers were like, the Giants need to score 2 touchdowns here if they want to win this game because Tom Brady is going to score a touchdown. He always does. And he did. And, again, to lose by 1 point,
we lost by 1 to the Eagles and 2 to the Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and Brady was pissed last night. He was not happy with the way his team was playing.
No,
I also don't think he.
They
I don't
played
think
down to the level of the Giants as much as the Giants played up to them.
I think that, again, the Giants' defense was a worthy opponent last night.
The Giants' defense did play very well. The Giants schemed very well and frustrated Brady much of the night.
With that said, I think I think the Bucs defense did not play that, but they got lucky in the sense that Jones just could not hit. He had a couple big plays. I haven't seen him do that before. He had a couple big plays like on third down, third long. I haven't seen him do that before. But
no, it's true. It's but the sad thing,
signs of life, but it's just not working.
He's so far gone. The sad thing is now this is of our 7 losses, as we're 1-7 now. 6 of them were by 1 score or less.
Well, let's look at the Giants real quick. What division games have you played so far?
We've played everybody once. We beat Washington. Okay. We lost to you guys. We lost to Dallas.
All right. I think it's pretty safe to say, barring like some hot shot coming out of nowhere, the Eagles are probably going to be favorites to win the division at this point.
Yes.
But if you can win the rest of your division games, you got a shot to maybe get that wild card. Maybe. Most likely not.
No.
No, you have no chance. I know. Ray, I'm teasing you. You might have a shot at the division. Maybe
we'd have,
but you're gonna have to win a non-division game to do that.
That's exactly.
Right. And that's what the Eagles did.
And
that's what the Eagles did. The Eagles beat the 49ers. That and the tie might turn out to be the thing that puts us over the edge.
Yeah, you'll be 6-9-1, and you'll be the division winner.
Well, again, unless the Eagles get healthy. If the Eagles get healthy and find some stride, they can start winning some games. But I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very depressing as a Giants fan because we're so close. Again, I've said this multiple times. It reminds me of the '90s Giants that were so close, that had a solid defense, and it was the quarterback play. It was the quarterback play that held them back. Dave Brown and Kent Graham and Danny Cannell.
So Ray and I were talking about the jerseys that the Giants were wearing last night, which were the kind of old school 80s, 90s
It was
jerseys.
the 30th anniversary of their 1990 Super Bowl win over the Bills.
So I heard a stat, Ray, and I don't know if this is true, but you might want to look this up as a fan. Mm-hmm. I've heard they have not won a game in those jerseys since 1990.
I believe. To be fair, they've only worn those jerseys since 1990, like 5 times. So they're 0-5.
I don't think they've won a game in them.
Yeah.
And I just want to make a note that the Pittsburgh Penguins had a third jersey. They lost 3 big games in overtime over the last second, and they legit threw them out. They burnt them.
Yeah, so it's something you might want to consider. They're 0-5.
Or just playing them more.
They're 0-5.
Or just playing them more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might win them some more, but yeah.
But yeah, and the other thing, and here's the other thing, and this is why I also get in Daniel Jones, and this is why I believe he is a bust. The last time a quarterback had this many turnovers over the first 20 games of his career, his name is Ryan Leaf.
Oof.
That's really bad company to keep, folks. For those of you who don't know, because I had to explain, I tell a friend this today, in the draft that Peyton Manning went in, Ryan Leaf went first to the Chargers. Ryan Leaf is considered one of, if not the biggest bust at the quarterback position in NFL history. The only person to have more turnovers in their first 20 games of their career is Ryan Leaf. Danny Jones is only 3 behind after last night. That's how bad he's playing. And let me tell you, the Giants as a team are not as bad as Danny Jones.
No.
And that's it's not like the Jets where you can go to every position and be like, that guy's bad, that guy's bad, that guy's bad. No, the Giants have some good guys on defense and even a couple on offense.
True.
But Danny Jones is holding this team back. And yes, we may have seen signs of life this week. But can we really afford to wait any longer for this to click for a kid who's now played a season and a half and has 4 career wins, 3 of which against Washington?
Well, here's the deal. Yes, you can afford to wait at this point.
Well, at this point, we got 8 more
but
games.
but
Let him tank now.
Yeah, unless you can find somebody else to take a spot. I mean, the only other bust I can think of at that level is probably Ricky Williams. He's not a quarterback, obviously, but
even Ricky had a few years where he cracked 1,000 yards.
He never did what he was.
He never reached the level that he was suspected to be. But
he did that with the Saints, right? He did that with the Saints one year.
Saints, and he also had one good year with the Dolphins. But
right, that's right. His first year, right?
I think his first year with the Dolphins. Yeah, but I'll say like compared to Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, no, right. And Ryan Leaf went to Washington State. Again, just another weird situation. But here's the other thing too, and then I'll shut up on Jones, is just his body language is horrible, and like
he looks scared.
He looks scared, or he looks frustrated all the time. He just looks like he doesn't look confident.
He's not a
leader. He doesn't look confident. Yeah, at least it doesn't look like to be a leader. And I'll tell you what, if I was a receiver and I was getting overthrown, I'd lose some faith too. But I mean, they need a quarterbacks coach, man. They need someone there with them. Hey, man, relax a little bit. All right. If your biggest strength is your biggest weakness, then work on it. That's an easy fix. Garrett, you idiot. I'm not even a Giants fan. Anyway, Ray, let's move on.
Yes, moving on. Also, just briefly, you mentioned the Pats earlier. What's going on with Cam Newton? Cam Newton.
Yeah.
They're 2-6. Speaking of Tampa Bay and Brady and Belichick, I mean, it's not all on Belichick. He's not making the best moves, but Cam Newton, they have no quarterback either, it looks like.
Yeah, they sat him. So this is what I'm going to say about that, is that I saw an article today that was like, well, we've proven that Brady is the better quarterback than Belichick was a coach. And I was like,
that's not true.
Crumple that up and throw it out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to decide that first off in 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
8 games, number one. Number two is that, there's not enough time there. You said he's playing horrible. No team's good with
and
a bad
that too. And by the way, the Patriots also, another team that I think has 4 losses by 1 possession or less. If Cam Newton didn't turn the ball again, a quarterback who suddenly has turnover problems, and holy cow, it's hard to win when your team does nothing but turn the ball over.
Right. Imagine that.
Anyway, sorry, I cut you off there.
No, you are more than welcome to do that, my friend.
But anyway, so that does it for football this week. Moving on to happier stories, or at least some of them, I guess. Moving to hockey.
Hockey? I like hockey.
I know you like hockey.
It's like my favorite sport.
It is your favorite sport.
Like it.
You like it a lot. You might some say you might live it. But the Dallas Stars revealed alternate jerseys this week, and this is always a fun discussion to have.
They did. They look like they got slimed by Nickelodeon.
They're called the blackout jerseys. They're all black with neon green lettering and font and logo, and it's I don't know. I'm kind of mixed. I don't hate them, but I definitely don't think they're that great either.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Look, this is still a reaction to the Seahawks jerseys, like from how many 10 years ago, where they came out with those neon kind of greenish Seahawks jerseys, and everybody thought that's crazy. The truth is, they kind of look cool. I mean, they kind of grew on everyone. Then they won a Super Bowl in them.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden, it's like, all right, And I remember thinking too, like, this is what's funny about like the neon, like the bright neon colors, especially like the pinks and the greens, is like we forget like 30 years ago this was everything when we had Umbros and like everything was neon and crazy. Even the markers, neon was a thing. Neon, man. Like we used to say these things. So it's a little out there, but hey, man, I don't mind change. I don't mind trying things. They actually look kind of cool. They look a little bit like Ghostbusters or Ecto Cooler or Slime. And it's like the only mistake they made on that was I think the inside of the jersey says "Come and get it" or something like that. It's something weird like that, and it's like the Tampa Bay fans were like, "We did." Yeah, that's an easy. It's just like, but here's the thing: it's inspired some of my friends who make jersey kind of like templates. They did one for every team in the league, and like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I saw a Flyers one with really hot orange. Neon hot orange. I was like, this is kind of cool. So it'll be interesting to see what it does. But listen, they just went to the Cup final. They lost. They're gonna have a big influx of fans. Yeah, it's cool, man. Look, I'm one of these people, Ray. I'll just tell you this: with any team, with any jersey, okay, it's really easy to see just the jersey and go, that looks stupid, right? You got to see it on the players in the full uniform. A Dallas Star in a black jersey with a bright that could be really intimidating. I really mean that. And I think that it's going to look good. I say the same thing about the Kraken jersey. Over the overall response to the Kraken jersey,
we all really like the Kraken jersey.
Yeah, I saw a few people that didn't like it, but I think they're just hating it to hate it.
Probably, yeah. I like the gold Vegas jersey now too.
Yeah, like I get. And here's the thing: the gold Vegas jersey. And again, I'd implore people to take a second. Oh, it's like a mustard. No, it's gold. You need to see a close-up picture. It's gold, and it shimmers like gold.
That's cool.
And like I said, if you look at a close-up, it's gold. All right, and like I said, look, 20 years ago, it's like, we need black. Everyone needs a black jersey. Get a black jersey. Then every team had a black jersey and a white jersey. That's we need some color back in the league. Everybody went back to their 70s jerseys. They're like, oh, we need something different. Okay, here's some neon. Oh, I can't do neon. You can't. It's just like, just shut up and enjoy the game. Yeah. Like, they're just trying to get my money. Yeah, and they will because people are gonna buy it. All right, but like, I think it looks great.
Cool. I'm with you.
Cool. Let's get off.
No, I want to see how it looks on the ice. That's the last time. That's where you can really define. Like,
it would not be for every team. The Rangers could never pull that off.
I agree.
Okay, but the Rangers also have like one of the most iconic jerseys.
Yeah,
in the Red Wings, blue, Boston.
Yeah,
these teams could never pull it off. But Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Dallas. There's a few teams there that I could like. I think Nashville could do something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's a few teams that could do it. And like I said, I'm going to say this again. It all goes back to the Seahawks getting those. I remember people lost their minds when they did. Like, they look like a traffic cone. Well, they're a championship team that looks like a traffic cone.
Yep.
And it turns out it wasn't as dumb as it looked.
Yep. So there you go. But, so moving on with hockey. We actually had some really big stories come out of hockey, and I really want to get Lee's opinion on these because these were really, really interesting. Thing. The OHL, which is one of the minor leagues up in Canada. They announced
Major Junior,
excuse me. Yes,
it's okay.
They announced that they are going to try to have no body checking in the league next year to try to maintain social distancing on the ice. Lee,
yes.
Is this a little too far? I think with the social distancing thing. I mean, I don't know. What I want to get your thoughts on this. I think this isn't talking about the integrity of the game, right? This is what we talk about a lot in here. I think this has gone too far.
So I try and take a step back. I don't like it, just right off the bat. But I'll take a step back and I'll try and break this down the way I do it in my head. Number one, we have to remember the OHL, which is Major Juniors, which is also equivalent to NCAA football or basketball. This is where most of the NHL players come out of. I understand that. Yeah. It's a Canadian league. We have to remember this is not the United States. This is a different country now we're talking about.
Right.
Okay. So different regulations, different situations, different amounts of COVID testing. They do not have COVID in Canada like we do here.
That's correct.
So I can understand why they're like, hey, listen, no, we're going to try and protect the country for that reason. So like that's one level of justification for it. Another level is that should they get infected, it could really jeopardize the future of some of these players into the NHL. I do think that's playing into it a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to remember, too, a lot of major junior players don't live with their families. They live with billet families. Mm-hmm. They are not getting paid like an NHL athlete. There's a lot of things to think about. And Ontario is the league – is the province that has most of the cities. And, there's a major population. This is like people are like, well, why isn't the WHL doing this? Why isn't the Quebec Major League Junior doing this? It's different areas.
Right.
So I don't like it. I know, having played hockey here, that there's no contact in really youth hockey down here this year. They've limited, in some leagues, have limited face-offs where there's actually not a face-off. There's just a possession grab. So my attitude is this. If it's a one-year thing, it takes the physicality out of the game for a year, and it's safe, as frustrating as it is, I'm not against it. I'll just put it like that. Like we all have to sacrifice a little bit here to make things go. It's like I said to the youth hockey players here, look, we're not doing it this year. It's 1 year. You move on with your life, okay? I've always said this. If you're a senior in high school or senior in college and this is probably the last year you're going to play, it's rough. I'm with you on that, okay? I do feel for those athletes that might be at the end of their careers, especially the school-age kids. But this is the world. I mean, and again, I always talk about anchors. Like, we're not going to war right now, hopefully. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, if the worst thing that happened to you in 2020 is you didn't get to hit in a hockey game, I'm all right. I mean, that's, at least you got to go outside. You get to go out. I can't even go to Starbucks. So I'm just saying, at least to sit down. Yeah, it's frustrating but understandable. It's not our government. It's not our country.
Yeah.
And like you have to kind of bow that Canada might know what they're doing here.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point.
Blame Canada! Blame Canada!
Yes.
With all their hockey hullabaloo and the OHL is on moon. No, just go ahead. Sorry.
Well,
it just felt fitting
so
to do
that brings
that.
us into our next subject. This is something that I thought was an interesting question that was posed actually on my Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo, where we do about sports and we talk.
Plug!
Yes, and
No, it's fine. We want to plug that. Sorry.
Yes,
wait,
and of course I've been playing
plug.
yes, NHL 3 times a week. And, you know, a lot of folks had heard about, we talked about this in the show, the realignment of the divisions for the sake of COVID.
Right.
And having one division, just all the Canada division, the 7 teams up in Canada. Somebody posed the question, I thought it was an interesting one, is that could all of the league play up in Canada, some playing in some minor league stadiums and some AHL stadiums, and some major,
Yes.
you know, and whatnot, and trying to... because it is stricter up there. They bubbled up there with the 2 bubbles very successfully. And again, also A, cut down on travel, but B, have maybe a division or, you know, 2 stadiums per division kind of thing. And kind of try and really limit and crack down on the travel and whatnot. Could they do that for a full season? I don't believe so because of just playing an NHL has said they want to try and get as many games as possible, as close to 82 in this year. They have gone on the record and said that. So, I mean, I don't think over an 82 game or even, say, a 70 game schedule, that would be realistic. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Lee, because I thought it was an interesting question. Could the entire league for that regular season have maybe 8 or 9 bubble stadiums and have a few teams to each one and kind of try and to limit things? What are your thoughts?
No.
Okay. Awesome.
No. Here's why. It's an easy answer. Is there will be no bubble to play this season. You're not going to get the NHLPA or the players to sign off being away from their families that long again, especially the bottom 15 teams. There's no way they're going to do that. Number one. Number two is I do believe there will be different divisions this year, most likely. The Canadian divisions will have to stay up there.
Yeah.
I think this plays out great for TV. You have a Canadian division that's brilliant for Canada. It's going to be like Hockey Night in Canada every single night. Yes, you will lose having Crosby come up there and Ovechkin, and again, we'll survive for a year like that. The NHL has done everything right so far. I do not think they'll be able to get through the regular season with no COVID cases, but you kind of have to trust them at this point that they know what they're doing. But you're not going to get players to stay away from their families. If anything, this should be a reprieve for them this season that they're not traveling as much. Number one. Again, just the NHLPA will never allow that to happen.
Yeah.
The bigger issue right now for the NHL, and I want to mention this because I know some people have been panicking about it, is there's been some reports of, if they don't get 45 games in, they're not going to have a season, they're just going to cancel the season. Everybody relax. Just relax, okay? Like let them get to January 1st. Let them see what they can do. They might move the season back a month. There's a lot. We just had hockey in August. Yeah. I think we're going to be okay. Yeah. All right? They'll find a way to do it. It's touch and go here for a year or two, and to whatever the new normal will be what it is. But I think you're going to have a shortened season, 45 to 60 games next year, and I think it's way too early to panic about any of this stuff. Although it is fun to speculate, but to answer your question, no, I do not believe that, in any way they could do that. They probably could bubble the playoffs again if they need to.
Right.
But that's a long ways off, and I have a feeling at that point, things will be a little bit further down the line, if you will.
Fair enough. I just thought it was an interesting question. Wanted to put it out.
Yeah, it is. No, but just no. Any situation takes these guys away from their families.
Yes.
Now that that's happened to them, there's no way they're going to do it again.
We all saw the video. What was it, John Merrill? I think.
With his kids crying when they saw him. Look, guys, I didn't. I did this comparison, but not seriously. But I've watched military people get deployed for 6 to 12 months at a time. I'm not comparing service to the NHL guys, but I've seen. Just people be away from their families. It's not easy, all right? Yeah. I've taken long trips from my family. It's devastating. And I would go as far to say it affected the performance of a lot of players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was devastating to a lot of them, especially the ones with kids. So, no, I don't think the NHLPA or the NHL will do that to their players. They're super self-conscious of that as a league. Not to mention, I don't think Canada would let all those players from the USA come up there anyway. So that's my honest opinion.
Well, and it makes a lot of sense. Speaking of players who probably aren't going to hit the ice anytime soon, we do have to mention this story. Mitchell Miller, who was a draft pick for the Coyotes, and what used to be a player for UND. Well, basically, it came out he did some horrible things when he was younger.
He did some horrendous things.
Yes,
horrendously horrible things.
He absolutely tortured and bullied an African American classmate, and
disabled African American classmate.
Yeah, and it was disgusting. It was absolutely terrible. It was horrible. I couldn't even finish reading everything that he did to this kid, and understandably so. The Coyotes have renounced the rights from him as a draft pick. UND has said he's off the team, and basically, it doesn't matter how good a hockey player this kid might have been. He at least at this point did some horrible things as a human being, and that took precedent, rightly so, and he's paying the penalty for it.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this too because there's a lot of factors that go into this. All right. I've heard everything from him. He was only 14 when he did this. He's trying to change his life. Here's the deal, all right? There's a few facts here that I think people missed. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was 14 when he did this. And had he come out and apologized and made amends and said, look, this was really wrong. I was young. I made a major mistake. I'm seeking help for this, doing everything he can to kind of turn that around.
Yeah.
Even I would have been at this point, like maybe he does deserve a chance here. Yeah. But none of that happened.
He showed zero remorse.
Yeah.
Zero.
None. Okay. In fact, when he was drafted, the reason this came to light was because the young man that he bullied came out and spoke out against him, saying, this kid's always got a free pass because he was great at hockey.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't know if what he did was racially motivated, although it sounds like it was from some of the statements that were made. I wasn't there. In either case, it was severe bullying. Okay, This was not a boys will be boys type level bullying. This was sick. Yeah. All right. So this is my point. He is being made an example of, and there are consequences to your actions.
Yep.
And his hockey career may very well be over.
Yep.
But I don't care if you're 14, 24, 74. It's not okay. All right. So if people want to put him on a pedestal as he's being sacrificed, he's responsible for his actions.
Yes.
He sacrificed himself. It is not acceptable. The NHL has spoken out about this in many ways. I have to give UND credit for taking him off the hockey team. He was still allowed to remain at UND and get his education, which is more than fair.
Yep.
All right, if fair at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But until he is able to step forward and
show growth from this moment,
anything that this was wrong. No, he should have no place. And Arizona should have done a lot more research into this kid. This is why you have those pre-draft meetings.
Yeah.
All right, but I want to say this again to the audience. This was disgusting. If someone did this to one of my children, I would lose my mind. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
So this is the right move from all parties involved. I feel bad about the entire situation. I don't like seeing someone who has that much talent being put on the sidelines, but it is necessary.
Yeah.
All right. Unfortunately. All right. And I believe there to be a pathway forward for him if he wants to take it, but there has been no signs that he wants to take that. At least nothing that I've seen.
Right.
Nothing that I've seen.
And that's really the core of the issue here is that he has done nothing to make amends. He was court ordered to make an apology and he refused to.
Tells you kind of what you need to know right there.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of is at the core of this issue. And again, like Lee said, and I think this is something that a lot of folks don't seem to realize, is that your actions have consequences.
Yeah.
I deal with this.
Especially.
I've dealt with this with kids like around his age who I've banned from not to this level, but like who I banned them on Twitch because they said a racial slur. They said something is horrible and disgusting, and then they private messaged me and they're like, "Why did you ban me?" And I'm like, "Because you did something reprehensible, and you didn't care, and you didn't care." And they're like, "Well, when are you going to take the ban off?" I'm like, "It's a perma ban. You're not coming back." And again, it's because, and I say this because a lot of these kids that are between 12 and 16. and they don't understand that their actions have consequences.
Yeah.
That what they do affects other people in a negative way. I mean, and it's beyond. And for what this kid, I mean, this was beyond words. Like what Lee said again, I couldn't even get through the whole article of all the stuff that he did to this poor kid.
Yeah, I don't even want to say. I was thinking, should we tell people?
I don't want to get into the specifics.
I don't
we
either.
don't
It's
need to
disgusting.
get into the specifics. You can look it up. His name's Mitchell Miller. There's plenty of other articles out there.
Disgusting.
Just know it was reprehensible. And again, like Lee mentioned, he did nothing to apologize. He did nothing to rectify the situation. This was, and even if he did, I don't know if it would have been okay, because this is such a. It's just such a. It just shows just the kid. The kid did some bad stuff.
Yeah,
and he needs to be punished for it.
And he's being punished for it.
Yeah.
And again, look, this is adequate punishment in my mind. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm around hockey culture a lot, and there's a lot of different areas of hockey culture. But I will fully admit there is a wealthy class of hockey culture that just thinks they get a free pass, or that your skill sets are enough and they kind of breeze through and think they can do whatever they want. And I have no problem when something like this happens and they're brought down a notch. Again, I don't wish any kid to not pursue their dream. If anything, I'm all about that. But there are consequences for your actions, as Ray just said.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, friends, everybody listening, watching this, whatever you're at, that is on my hockey audiences here, this may be the biggest favor they've ever done for this kid in his life. Okay? We don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'll tell you what, being a morally sound character and walking forward that way, there's not an NHL contract on earth, I don't care how many millions you make, that can buy that kind of piece. No. So I'm just saying, and I've been around the block a few times to say that. All right? I've seen people make millions and hate themselves. So just it is what it is.
Word of advice: learn some empathy. Think before you act. Think how what you're going to do is really think what.
How about this, Ray? You're not invincible. None of us are. Everybody wants to believe they have some level of control that they actually don't have. You have very little control over almost everything. Mm-hmm. The truth is this, you're not invincible. None of us are. I'll say it again. And I was blessed through tragedy to kind of realize that early on in my life, that I could die, right? Not something that happened to me, but something that happened to people around me. Ray's been through similar experiences. I always knew it. It was not invincible. And some of these kids... not just kids, right? Some of these young people grow up thinking there's nothing can hurt them.
Yeah.
And that's not true. And that's just, again, advice. You got to know that.
Yeah.
You just got to know that.
Yeah. So, again, hopefully, I don't know, hopefully this kid turns it around.
Yeah, I hope. Listen, I'm wishing him a solid path forward. I really can't say that enough. I'm not one of these people. I've heard people say, like, oh, he should go to hell and this and never play again. I don't want that. I want the kid to have a career, but
everyone
he's got to
everyone deserves redemption, but you need to earn redemption.
You got to be accountable.
You need to want a redemption, and you need to understand why you need to be redeemed. Yeah. Like
even by the way, even with all of this going on, I haven't seen nothing with all of this from him. Not even a fake apology, which is weird.
Yeah, like seriously, like that's a bad sign.
Yeah,
that maybe you raised a sociopath. Sorry. I mean, but it's just like, holy cow.
I hope his parents aren't listening.
Well, yeah. Well, if they are, screw them. So.
Or maybe we do. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's hockey for today. We're gonna move on now into. I know we said we're gonna talk a little bit about baseball. Just a couple of interesting stories. I know Lee doesn't like baseball anymore, but one of the things that we talked about was. How the new class of coaches and the front office is really kind of ruining the game in a lot of ways. Which is why I think the hiring of the Chicago White Sox, getting rid of Rick Renteria, who was one of those new school coaches who used 7 pitchers in the last elimination game against the Athletics and, of course, got his butt kicked. They hired one of the greats of all time in Tony LaRussa, who has won countless World Series.
And they were criticized for it heavily.
They were, and I don't get that because to me,
I don't either.
To me, that's a good. Like you've got a proven winner who's won with multiple franchises, who knows how baseball. Who nobody. Tony LaRussa. He's said some questionable things in the past, but in terms of baseball, he's apologized for them. He's one of the great baseball minds ever, right? Like
yes.
Yep. I think that this is if you're looking to win now with a team that is built to win now in the White Sox, this is a fair move. I think this is a good move, honestly. Actually,
I bet you he will use sabermetrics too, just in the better way. I do want to say too that both Bob Costas and A-Rod came out after what happened in the World Series, and yeah, they and again, I don't want to act like they listen to the show or anything like that, but hopefully maybe like my point is that like when those types of people come out and say exactly what we said, and by the way, we've been saying it all year. That's the thing I think that's the key here. Is this is not something we just said after the World Series. It's very easy to judge that game and look at it like, oh, that game was so dumb. We've been saying this all year. We've been saying this about multiple sports, not even just baseball. But to hear Costas, by the way, if you haven't heard his speech about this, you should definitely. People were clapping when he spoke. That's how good of a speech that was.
Yeah, and the Rich Eisen
show, go. We'll link it, but actually we did link it on our page. But it was phenomenal the way he talked about how sabermetrics are killing the theater of baseball, and that there's a human element. He said verbatim with things that we said.
Yeah.
And then A-Rod, same thing. A-Rod said he couldn't sleep because of this. And the one thing A-Rod said that really stood out to me is like, I wish I played in this era where they'd pull a pitcher that was killing me.
Yeah.
Like, so, like the players are telling you that it's just
like seriously,
the Mookie Betts and the players.
They're all saying thank you on the Dodgers bench. Like what?
Again, and then they were talking about that this kid's throwing an ace. The kid was throwing a gem, and you take him out. It's just
not even close to 100 pitches. Not even close.
Yeah, it's just. Listen, I used to walk around when I was younger. I'll tell you this, Ray. It's something we haven't talked about before. I used to walk around thinking that, man, professional coaches just know it. They get it all. They know it all.
Yeah.
Then I got to work around some professional teams, be on some professional teams, and no, some of these people really don't get it. They really, really don't get it. And that this is the key to good coaching. And again, Ray will back me up. This is what I do for a living outside of the show. I coach coaches. Okay? There's a lot of coaches that do not see the gaps in their game.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll give you a great example. Clock management, Andy Reid. Why is there not a clock management coach? I've been calling for that for years. If Andy Reid had a clock management coach, he would have won multiple Super Bowls, number one.
Yeah.
Okay? In baseball, you should have a sabermetrics guy. You should also have a psychologist on the bench.
Yeah.
All right? Someone that can look at these guys, or an empath, and say, no, don't take that guy out. It's on me if you lose. Like the coach of the Rays, again, everybody says he's a great guy. Everyone says
I'm sure
that,
he's a great guy. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
mistake.
except when he
This
plays
is a
the
gap.
Except when he plays the Yankees. Then
you couldn't read the human element.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a problem for me.
When your pitcher is swearing at you on the mound, and again, he's throwing a two-hitter. Two-hitter in a must-win playoff game for you.
World Series game.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and again, look, I could go through every sport.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to. I'm just going to say that great coaches, I've said this is like my quote, man. I've said this before. Good coaches think they know everything, and great coaches know they know nothing. All right? That's the difference that I found. And a lot of these coaches, sabermetrics, it's like Moneyball came around and everybody thinks they found the key to winning, and it does not. You cannot coach the human element that way.
Well, and
you
especially
can't do it.
If Moneyball was the end-all, be-all, Billy Beane would have a World Series, and he does
every year.
Yeah,
every year, and he didn't even win that year. You got to remember that because of the human element.
Yeah.
So it's just it kills me that Moneyball said this, that the baseball thinking is primitive. Still is in a lot of ways.
Yep.
It still is in a lot of ways, and coaching is in general. So just say about LaRussa coming in, I'm sure he's going to use sabermetrics. I think he's also going to read the human element.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this for maybe the 10 millionth time on this show. Let the athletes decide the game.
Yep.
Okay, I'll give the Giants credit last night. They let Daniel Jones decide the game. I'll give him credit. He didn't do it, but they did. That was the right thing to do.
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
Sorry, I'm being honest with you. All right? That's the truth.
Just usually we die, but anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? Listen. Let me ask you this question. I'll be honest with you. What if Garrett made a really stupid decision or play call? It wasn't a bad play call. Yeah. You know, what if he tried to do something crazy? You know, you would be like, you have to let Daniel Jones try there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't know why they let him throw the ball. I mean, I would have just ran.
I was going to say the 2 point. So on the 2 point conversion from the 2 yard line, you run it in, but
yeah, well, that's what a smart team would do. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Let your athletes decide the games. It's what they've built. Even Costas said that. Like, this is what they do their whole life. Just let them do it. Sometimes, remember, last thing I'll say, and just to echo Costas, averages are averages. There are nights you are below average.
Yeah.
There are nights you are above average. And on that night, the Tampa Bay pitcher was way above average.
Yeah, and you got to
keep
recognize
the
that.
guy in.
Yeah.
Schmuck.
Yeah. Speaking of schmucks, also the Detroit Tigers hired former cheater AJ Hinch.
Another toss up there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so AJ Hinch now, former Astros manager, now managing the Detroit Tigers. That should be interesting. We'll see what happens with that. Moving on, this was a fun story. This was a great story. I really enjoyed this story. John Lester, who Chicago Cubs pitcher, former Red Sox pitcher, of course, 3-time World Series champion, including once with the Cubs. The team did not pick up his option, which many expected because he was $25 million, and John Lester has not pitched like a $25 million a year pitcher in the past 3 years. Excuse me. So Lester, thinking that this was going to be the end of him on the north side, bought Chicago a beer. Quite literally, that basically, he basically reached out to every bar, I guess, in Chicago. And he likes to drink. I think it's Miller's or whatever. He mentioned it on this post. He likes to drink Miller Lite or whatever. He's like, listen, it's my favorite beer. This one's on me. Thank you so much for Chicago for everything. And all he says is just tell the bartenders, put it on John's tab. By the end of the weekend, John Lester had bought for the city of Chicago 4,838 beers, totaling just over $47,000 of a beer tab. But again, the dude made $25 million a year. So, but
that's awesome. Look, that's awesome. That's old school, man. I love that. I love it. It's a great story.
Was really, really cool of him to show how much that city meant to him while he was there. I mean, and there's no reason to say that the Cubs don't re-sign him. Maybe he had a renegotiated contract or anything like that. But it does look like he will hit the open market. And that he believes that he is done there in Chicago. And that was just a really, really cool thing by John Lester, a guy who when he played for Boston, I didn't like him. But when he went to Chicago, I was just fine with him. That was a really awesome thing to do. Again, running up a $47,000 bar tab across the city of Chicago.
You don't see cities in the salary cap eras. You don't see cities do that type, or athletes endear themselves to the cities too much anymore at that level.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It reminds me when the Eagles won and Bud Light bought everyone in Philly a Bud Light.
Yeah.
It's just the Philly thing because that just fell into our lap, obviously. But it's a feel good moment. It's cool to see. That's one of those things like you tell it forever. Like, yeah, man, the only time John Lester bought me a beer. I mean, it's a great story. Yeah. It's a great sports story.
It is. And I think, and especially after we had a couple of down stories, I think that's a fun note to end the sports section on. I think that is definitely.
Yeah. I'm going to buy you a beer. Just tell your bartender to put it on my tab, and I'll just PayPal you the money. Let's be honest. Okay. All right.
But no,
actually, don't go to the bar. Don't go to the bar. Right? I'll just buy you some beers.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, no, I mean that's it. That was a fun thing. Even during COVID times, that was still a good story from baseball. Which goodness knows baseball needs it right now. It needs some good publicity and some good characters. So that was a fun high note, and good on John Lester. So that brings us now to our mashup.
Mashup.
Yes. So we talked earlier about Pacific Rim getting an anime style series on Netflix. So our question is what other live action property should have an anime made of it?
Now we have to be specific what anime means. This is not a cartoon version. Right. So, like, as the real Ghostbusters, that's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Tiny Toons is a cartoon. Animaniacs is a cartoon. Inspector Gadget's a cartoon. That is not anime.
Yeah.
Anime is Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
I'd say Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon would fit in.
Dragon Ball Z. It's a specific art style.
And anything where you hear a lot of like those kind of you don't hear those in traditional cartoons.
Yeah, it's a very specific style. Yes, but So I thought of one that kind of skirts the line between sports and entertainment.
Sure.
What if they made a wrestling anime where it was like
that's a great. I was worried you were gonna say Pro Stars for me.
No,
a wrestling anime would be great. That's a great idea. Now here's I'm gonna dive right into this. All right, because there's a few ways you can go with this. Because there's the traditional traditional way, but what if you gave the Undertaker and Mankind a real story?
Yes, exactly.
From the boiler room,
exactly.
Mr. Sacco.
Yeah, no, that would be.
That's good, Ray. That's
you.
really good.
Thank you.
That's really good. I don't even know if it's worth talking about mine now. That's really good. No, seriously, like let your mind wander on that, friends. Like, can you imagine like the Ultimate Warrior?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, again, you're gonna have to bring out a lot of the classic guys from this, just because they're
for sure.
More,
for sure. They would fit in way better. But like, even
like,
still, even modern guys would still be
Yeah.
crazy and fun. Like, yeah. So I thought wrestling.
Kofi Kingston. It's
a
new day.
Exactly. The New Day would fit as an anime for
Oh,
sure.
man.
Like,
Austin Creed would love that.
yeah, no, I think if you were to make an anime,
Xavier
I think
Woods.
you make a WWE anime, and you do go over the top and recreate old storylines, but also do current ones.
That's a really good one. I mean, what I was gonna say is that I'm cheating here. It's not really live action. Mm-hmm. In fact, they're doing the opposite thing in making live action of this. But I'd really like to see a Legend of Zelda anime, because I just think that would be so good.
Yeah.
Again, they're gonna go live action, which we'll find out it's a mistake. Ray, I think a Ghostbusters would be good too.
Yeah,
I said it before as a cartoon.
Stuff,
There's a lot of like little things like that, but I'm just gonna concede to you that one that you just came up with is way better than anything I'm gonna think of, and I don't want to end the show on something bad, but a WWE, WCW, ECW, NWA, NWO, AEW, and then all the regional governors.
Yeah.
I'm going to Star Wars now. No, that would be really good, and it would lend itself to that. In fact, wasn't there a WWE cartoon at one point? Am I mistaken on that?
I think
I
think there was a cartoon. Yeah. I think it starred John Cena and stuff, but I think it was very briefly lived on WWE Network. I do not think it was watched very much.
Dude, I'm telling you right now. Let's just. This is how we'll end the show. Let's just give the roster for this. It would be the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Mankind.
Yeah.
I think Ultimate Warrior has
Macho
to be
Man.
Sting.
Macho Man, and probably Hogan, and you probably have, and you do Hogan.
I'm trying to think of other dark characters that have a Mr. Kane. Oh man, Kane the Undertaker. Oh my God, the origin story.
Yeah.
Not that weird WWE WrestleMania thing where they fought outside.
Yeah.
Which is just awkward and weird.
Yeah, I mean,
you want some of this? I was like, don't.
Yeah, Bray Wyatt, obviously, and from the current roster would fit into that as a dark character for sure. But then you have some crazy ones like Brother Love and
Dude Love.
Well, not even Dude Love, Brother Love, the dude with the Pritchard who had when he's painted his face all red. The managers Jimmy Hart, the Mouth from the South. The Hart family. The Hart family would be great.
Well, I'll give you one more too. I said I wasn't going to do this, but this has actually been teased, so that's why I'm going to bring it up. There's never been a Star Wars anime. And they've teased it. They've teased it with Luke before. They've made these fake intros and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this is what I'll say. The Mandalorian's so good, we don't really need it right now. So yeah, WWE. Ray, you've just won the World Heavyweight Championship of mashups for this week because of that.
Yeah.
And you needed a win today. And you got it.
Finally, I needed a win. Finally.
There you go. I'm conceding to you, sir. I'm going to tip my hat. I won't take it off because I'm bald too. It doesn't work when there's two bald guys on the screen at the same time. But.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So we want to know what you guys think. Let us know your suggestions.
We want to know what you think.
Yes.
Sorry, I forgot to
Let us know what you guys think. But other than that, thank you for tuning in. As always, this will do it for episode 81 of geeks-sports.
If I may,
yes.
a closing note. Yes. It is going to be Thursday or after when you watch this. Okay? We have no idea what the election outcome is. In fact, we have not looked at it, I think, since we've started recording this. Okay?
Although I'm getting a bunch of text messages.
That's fine. Listen, before we go to any of that, we wish all of you, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, we wish all of you nothing but health and happiness and a way forward. I want to say this. I can't speak for Ray here. I can speak for myself. Ray, if you agree with me, you feel free. I don't want to put words in your mouth. We must find some common ground for unity in this country. We must remember that we are all after the same common goal. We just have drastically different ways of getting there right now.
Yeah.
And I just want to put that out there as your friendly podcast host, that I do not need to agree with you and you do not need to agree with me, but I will stand by you as long as we're after the same thing. And it is a time to try and find unity. And I know that probably there's a lot of uneasiness out there when you're listening to this. We want this to be a refuge for you. Ray and I do not see eye to eye politically most of the time. All right, but we are best friends. Like I said, we're not going to get into it, but we are best friends, okay? And it's because we both know that we're going towards the same thing. So it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be stressful no matter what happens, no matter what side you're on. Just wanted to say that to all of you. I believe in our ability to come back together at some point. We always do, and we will again. And that is your friendly neighborhood podcast host trying to breathe a little bit of hope into you on this sunny or rainy or snowy or windy day that you're listening to Geeks Who Like Sports. Ray, I'll throw it to you.
Yes, so that does it for this episode. I couldn't have put it better myself. So thank you all for listening. I'll just say, as always, you can email us at, of course, geekswholikesports@gmail.com or Ray or Lee at geekswholikesports.com.
No matter what, we'll be here next week.
Yes.
Consistency.
We're still going to be here.
We'll still be here next week.
Yes. But yeah, so again, of course, obviously the Facebook group, Twitter, Instagram. Be sure to follow. I'm sure it's been rolling across the bottom the whole show. Thank you, Caitlin, our producer.
Find us. Watch The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Watch The Mandalorian before the go watch it.
Yes. Be sure to do that. And yeah, thank you all again for tuning in. As always, this has been Geeks Who Like Sports, episode number 81. See you all next week.